Good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday. Oh, Mary's popping on just in time. How's
Hi there,
everybody
Mary.
doing?
Good
Morning, all.
morning. She's doing okay. A lot going on, but what can you do?
I know. We're getting ready for Thanksgiving. And I was trying to figure out what I was going to cook for Thanksgiving because I'm doing this whole food plant-based and eliminating meat, or at least not eliminating, but reducing greatly. But I thought, well, I'll get a small turkey for my dad and we'll have a little bit of that. But, you know, for me, Thanksgiving is always about the sides and all of that anyway. But then I got the nicest invitation from my cousin. She called me out of the blue and invited us to go with their family, which is really my dad's brother's family. And I was up late one night. I couldn't sleep because I was trying to name all of the members in the family and I got stuck on a couple people. So at 3 a.m, I got up and I was on Facebook trying to figure out, you know, who's married to who, what are their kids' names. And there's 23 of them all together, 23 and a half, because one of them's pregnant. But my dad's brother has 3 girls, and the oldest girl's son is hosting, and he's in Apopka. So that's about an hour's drive from here, closer to Orlando. So I'll be close to where you are, Kath. And so I don't have to cook, although I might cook on Friday anyway, just because I like the leftovers.
Yeah.
When are you going on your trip, Kath? When do you leave?
Monday morning we leave.
I hope you're feeling better. Kathy's under the weather today, but she's a trooper. Unlike me last week, who everything was set to go. I tried really, really hard. I had everything ready. I had, but my body would not let me. And so when I canceled it 10:30 or so, I went back to bed for 2 hours and then stayed in my pajamas all day. And I think that's because our bodies tell us we need rest. And I was conked out. So
Mary,
what I'm gonna do today.
Mary, you got plans for Thanksgiving? You're looking very beautiful today.
Oh, thank you. I'm just gonna have it with the boys. If the boys are home. One's home, the other one's in the hospital.
Oh no.
But well, no, it's a good thing. I really like this hospital. It's like 2 hours away. I had to drive them and drive home. But other than that, I told them, I'm not coming to visit you.
Well, you can Zoom with him or get on the FaceTime video.
Yeah, but it looks like a good place. And half of the people who work there have been residents there.
Oh, wow. So they know how it works and they can support it. And
yeah, so that's what got me. Like the lady who answered the phone, I can't tell you what she said, but she went through like 7 diseases, I have psychological, I have this. Right. She said, and now for the last 3 years, I've been on no meds, and I'm learning because I learned all the tools.
Wow.
To handle every situation.
Oh, that's amazing.
Everything of her situation. So that was right there. Okay, that sounds like a good place. You're going. He was like iffy, but he's the one who called up and said he wanted to go.
Oh, good. So that's the first step.
The first step.
If you drag him kicking and screaming, then it's not going to be helpful. But if he's in the right mindset, that's perfect.
I'm hoping. I mean, he could call tomorrow and say, come pick me up. I want, because there's no Baker acting. It's all
voluntarily. Yeah.
So, but I'm going to keep my thoughts and praying. That's all.
And what's your son's name? I'll add him to my prayer list.
Steve.
Okay.
Calls himself Steve. Yes.
Steve. Okay. So, I will add him to my prayer list.
Thank you. And I hope you feel better soon, Kathy. I know what that feels like.
Isn't that crazy? We run ourselves down. And I think a lot of times it's because we fail to put ourselves first. And ironically, that's sort of part of the topic for today and talking about the different types of sacred rest. And we've covered some of them already, but we're going to cover 4 more today because I missed last week. So I apologize. But we'll just hit on some of the high spots and be able to have that conversation, I think. Now, let's see. How was your wedding, Mary? I'm just looking for us on here so I can.
It was wonderful. It was gorgeous. They were gorgeous. The food was delicious. And seeing my family was overwhelmingly good.
That's the most important part, probably.
Yeah,
right?
seeing and meeting the little ones, the 4-year-olds and the 3-year-olds that I well, it's been 6 years since I saw the little ones.
Oh my goodness.
So, I was really meeting the 6-year-old also because he was like 18 months or so.
Oh, right.
But
That's nice.
it was wonderful. And, everyone was like, thanks for coming, and I just had a wonderful time. Of course,
Oh.
I forgot to wear my glasses to the wedding. And then I broke my shoe at the wedding. My shoe, the heel fell off, like separated. By the end of the night, the whole bottom of the shoe was gone. So I was like, okay. So I just threw them out and I was walking around in socks.
I've done that. I've lost shoes when I was at work and I had a sandal once that I don't know, it was a Dr. Scholl's naturalizer kind of sandal. And I wore them to death and it had it just exploded. I don't know what the wedge was made out of, but it just went, and there was like all this stuff all over the ground. And the kids are like, ew, what's that? And then I looked and it was my shoe. So after that, I always kept a pair of flip-flops or loafers or something, slippers in my room. So I wouldn't, in case
I didn't even think of that, but the shoe was about 35 years old.
Yeah.
And I don't wear it that much though. It's a boot, like a
Right.
half boot.
Right.
And I was wearing pants with sort of a bell-bottomy bottom. So I figured this is perfect, this little boot. Well, this little boot said, I've had enough of you. And that was that.
Get off my soul.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've got so much to talk about. Last week, I was going to say happy birthday to my kitty Ovaltine. She's now 13 and still loving me every morning, waking me up. And today is my niece Charlie's birthday. So happy birthday, Charlie. 8 years old today. And I have in my diffuser what I had last week, and I just redid it again, which is Exodus 2 and orange. And when I tried to look up what was in Exodus 2 to share with you, because it smells so amazing, it's not available anymore.
Oh boy.
But I don't even know if oh yeah, it's got myrrh, cassia, cinnamon, calamus, I don't know what that is, northern lights black spruce, hyssop, vetiver, and frank. So it's got all of those rich cinnamony like scents. So I think you would love it, Mary, but unfortunately can't get it anymore. And of course I paired it with orange. So it's just a fancy version of your cinnamon and orange, I guess. Anybody got anything in their diffuser?
I have stress away in my diffuser today.
Maybe you should put thieves in there, girl.
Yeah, I do upstairs. I have a combination, kind of a hefty blend that I have upstairs that has lemon, tea tree, frankincense, thieves, oregano, and peppermint. So I've been diffusing that like crazy all week upstairs. But I thought since today we're talking about sacred rest and finding a place to, like relax or, to de-stress, I thought I'd put stress away in.
Good plan. Good plan.
I have my normal.
All right. All right.
With the clove now. I did put the clove in too, so.
Yeah, the clove. Oh, it's got such rich undertones, I think, with the clove. Okay, well, today we have 4 chapters. So talking about spiritual rest, sacred rest, that's silly. That's not it. Social rest, right? Is that right? Yeah. I didn't write them down. I wrote all my notes, but I didn't write them down. So let me look at the chapter. Spiritual, social, sensory, and creative. So there's quite a lot there, but it's interesting because all of these different kinds of rests are just, I don't know, different aspects of our personality. I think sometimes they're just of who we are and all of the different ways that we put ourselves out there in the world. And we need to rest each of those different components in order to truly be balanced. I think that's what it is. When we talk about this whole book of spiritual rest, I feel like it is the lessons are about being very mindful about your body, mind, and soul, and being balanced in all of those areas. And that is what truly brings you a holistic rest. I know, Mary, jump in anytime, because I tend to start to talk and I don't stop. And Kathy's good at jumping in, but she's not feeling well today. So she's just there for moral support. So if you have something, jump in, and I'm never offended by that. But I guess we'll start with spiritual rest. And I have notes, but it's been a couple weeks since I read it now. But I think the main idea here was that you are made up of a mind, body, and soul, and you should not be ignoring any part of that. And a lot of times the soul, our spiritual life, is what we do tend to tamper down or ignore or not feel like it's as important, right? And one of the graphics that I made was from one of the quotes, is that because you're made up of a mind, body, and soul, you can't be treated. You can't treat your illnesses without treating all three of those. So you can't leave that out. And so one of her quotes was, spiritual rest is where the broken places mend. And so we can be broken in a lot of different ways, but if we are not attending to the spiritual needs as well, then we're not going to be wholly fixed. Even if it's a physical ailment, bringing God into it, or whatever spiritual beliefs that you have, is going to help you mend faster and wholly, rather than having this emptiness.
I agree. I do. I don't understand spiritual rest, but because I don't think you need to ever rest from your spirit. You should always be talking to whoever you believe in.
Mm-hmm.
And I talk every single day and try to, and I get a novena every day, and I get a message from the Pope, in my email, but whatever, it's religious.
The Pope emails you?
Well, I'm sure it's one of his staff. It's something, he writes a thing and then does some, religious stuff.
Right.
But I'm Catholic, so I believe in all of,
Mm-hmm.
and I read that and I pray and I put my kids on prayer lists, and I do though think of myself absolutely last, if I think of myself at all, and I have to learn how to turn that around.
Mm-hmm.
I keep putting that picture in my mind of the airplane going down, and if I don't put the oxygen mask on me, I won't be able to get it on the kids, and then all three of us will die.
Right.
Or whatever, the case may be. But
Good analogy.
it's very hard for me to do that. I'm trying.
I think it is, I think it's our nature as women to be nurturers, and we're always making sure everybody else is okay. But like you give a dinner party and you're serving up the food for everybody else, and then do you ever take time to eat an hors d'oeuvre or think of, what you need. I mean, that's a silly analogy, but it's the same kind of thing. We're always checking everybody else and putting their oxygen masks on, but not our own.
Oh, it's not silly because at the wedding, my cousin Beth, who was the mother of the groom, not my cousin, my sister-in-law Beth, everyone was saying, "Will you please sit down? Just sit down for a minute," because she was like worried about everything, and at the wedding, she was going around. So I don't think she ate. Like you said, I don't think she even ate that delicious. Like though she did mention it was delicious. The dinner was absolutely
She
delicious.
probably had 3 bites.
It might have. I don't know. I never saw her sitting. She was always standing and walking around or dancing. But and the next day she threw a party for lunch at her house.
Oh my
and
gosh.
she had another wedding that evening that she had to go to. They're like, "Why did you throw a lunch at your house?" You could have had something Sunday or something, but people were going home on Sunday. So she wanted to get it in there.
Oh my
But
goodness.
anyhow, and she didn't sit down at that either. So you do have to sit down and take care of yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's see. When we fail, when the goal is not to heal, but to avoid hurting. So I think, and when she was talking about the spiritual rest, she said there must be a deep cleansing of the wound for healing to take place. Decay has to be removed. So I think of that as kind of really looking into your life and figuring out where am I hurting? What's the bad stuff, at least in your soul and your emotional state, your mental state, and self-evaluation always, but like identifying the bad stuff and removing it. So we fail when the goal is not to heal, but to avoid hurting. There can be no healing without pain. So that's the other thing, is that a lot of people are stuck. And now I'm talking about a mental or emotional pain. They're stuck in that emotional pain because they don't want to face it. It's easier to tamper it down, to pretend it doesn't exist, because it's painful when you bring that up. So if we don't face those fears, or we don't face that pain, we can't move through it. So healing is painful in that way. I was thinking about this week, the physical pain of an injury or something, because I was working out and I did something that I normally do in my laying in bed exercises, and I'm able to do it there. But when I did it on the hard floor in the boathouse there, and I was exercising, I felt something go, ugh. And then the rest of the day I was limping around, and it brought back memories of when, before I had my hip replacement, of that pain that I had. And I was like, oh no, I don't want to have to go through that again. But I would if I had to, because going through that pain of a hip replacement and the recovery period afterwards made it so now I can exercise and I can jump and get, and I am healed in that way. And luckily the pain went away. So I'm okay. I was like, I don't want another one. But yeah, going through that pain in order to heal is a necessary part. I like how she said there are no viable nerve endings in dead tissue. It is without feeling. It's void of response. So when you have dead stuff within you, it has to come out. Faith and science do work together. Religious and science work in opposition like a thumb and finger. Science and religion, right? They work in opposition. You can't grasp something without the two of them. I mean, I guess you could pick up a paper but with your other fingers or whatever, but we do so much. The idea of a grasp is working together in opposition. They push against each other. So both are needed. Science and religion are both needed to heal. And when we talk to God, it says that prayer and meditation have the same effect on our brain as having a conversation with somebody one-on-one. And prayer can make you a healthier person. It says, the studies show, this is the science, that people who pray get sick less often than those who do not pray. And each minute, this is the application part of this. So each minute spent in spiritual rest exercises, or spiritual rest exercises like meditating on scripture, prayer, worship, journaling, enlarges the capacity of your personal sanctuary. What do you think that means? Enlarges the capacity of your personal sanctuary. Is that like your space, your safe space around you?
Place where you can go within your head or wherever.
Yeah.
And that's what I think it is, your personal sanctuary, your personal place where you're safe, where you
Right.
feel, and where you can maybe look at all the other things that you have to take care of, or what have you, or what is bothering you, or what's dead down there somewhere.
I feel like when I talk to God, I am putting myself under a microscope. So it's a lot of reflection and self-evaluation about where I am at the moment. And when I talk to God and I let that all out, it's examining all of those parts and identifying the places where I need help. So when we spend more time doing that, I think we also become more reflective. And so we don't spend time worrying, why am I like this? But you start to identify your own needs, your own strengths, weaknesses, flaws, whatever, so that you can create a plan. And I try to create that with God to make improvements. Like, why am I like this? Or what can I do for this and help me? Right. And often I think when I'm looking for an answer, it's not like I hear the voice of God, but God speaks to me in different ways, and different ideas pop into my head. And I don't think of that as a coincidence. I think of that as the answer to what I'm looking for. So, let's see. Explore relationship, love God. Love is not religious. Love is relational. I love that part, because it's not necessarily about believing in the religion of any specific religion, right? And beginning of the scriptures or whatever it is, but it's having a relationship with God and talking to that person, talking to God like your best friend, and asking for that help, or asking, what should I do? Or it's a relationship. And the more we can build that relationship, the more confident we can become, and that we can deal with whatever comes our way. And her last thoughts were more about it reunites that body, mind, and spirit. Any other thoughts on that? I feel like the next one is about social rest. And at first, my interpretation of what I thought social rest would be like getting away from social media, or getting away from people and just being by myself. But it's almost the opposite, except for the social media part. It's the idea of building those relationships with people. So when we get together here and we talk to each other and we relate as people, that's social rest, and it's even more powerful on a one-to-one basis if you can talk, to your person, whoever that person is. And I do believe that person is different people along the way, depending on your needs. She said, being able to find solace in another person, being seen, being heard, knowing somebody cares, being prayed for or prayed over, and having those connections are all about your social rest. And when she put it in perspective, if you think about it, if you don't have anybody, how do you feel? You know, if you didn't have anybody to share your innermost thoughts with, or your troubles, or, you know, just somebody to shoot the shit with and go out and have lunch with, or pedicures with Denise. Like, if you didn't have that person, or your spouse, or whoever it is that person for you, and as I said, it could be several different people, that's lonely, you know, and that's
Mhm.
going to play on your health, not having that person to talk to, right?
Definitely.
So the need for social rest is when you're feeling less than, you're feeling left out, you really need to make an effort to connect with somebody else. And I feel like in my most despondent moments, sometimes that's counterintuitive. Sometimes when you're feeling bad about yourself, you just want to be left alone. You want to go, you know, stay in bed, put the covers over your head, and ignore everything that's going on in your life. Whereas what you probably need is to go back to spiritual rest, to chat with God, and to chat with a confidant, a friend, and get it out.
Mm.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, that's difficult to do for me. I have one person in this world that I can tell everything to, just
Yeah.
well, 90%. God, I can tell everything to, but I only have one person in this world that I can tell that, you know, it's very hard for me to put myself out there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have this every Saturday, and I play cards with the same bunch of women, and we talk, and you know, and it was great because the day I went away, she texted me and said, "Have a great day," or "Have a great week," or whatever when you went,
Right.
which was kind of nice. And when I went for my surgery, one of the other ones, you know, offered to drive me and take me home, and so I just that is a great feeling, you know. Looks like, wow, you know, no. And I was going where I don't really have much of a relationship with my sister.
Mm-hmm.
So that was also on my mind, but it worked out perfectly. We had a wonderful week. I didn't stay with her. Maybe that's my cousin stayed with her, you know,
Right.
but I could understand that because my cousin wouldn't feel comfortable with who I stayed with. She doesn't really, you know them. Where
Right.
I would feel comfortable with. It was my ex-brother-in-law
Mm-hmm.
and his fiance, but I'm very close to his fiance.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's nice.
I don't even know if it's my ex anymore. I mean, they were married 33 years and then they got divorced and then she got sick and then she passed, passed. But either way, he's involved in the family. He's part of the family for so many years. So. And I had a wonderful week and I didn't have to worry. And, I could, like I said, you could do what you want. You could talk. I could talk to her. She could talk to me. We just kind of connected when I first met her, which was years ago.
Yeah.
But there are very few people that I instantly connect with.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I think we can always build on that. You can't force a situation where, this person becomes your person, but you can improve your socialness, I suppose, by just getting yourself out there. And I think you do that with like the groups that you belong to, even if it's not one-on-one or if it's not in person, but doing things through Zoom and meeting people and having that starts to build those relationships. And Kathy and I like, Kathy, you're like one of my people because we just connected 4 or 5 years ago, met at an oil event. And I think a product of our being with a bunch of kids made us draw together. And I think about being
Yeah.
out in Nashville and bar hopping with the girls and thinking this is not my scene. So Kathy and I went home early. We shared an Uber and went home early, but
We
you
still
know,
had fun.
yeah, I mean, that we can get on the phone and chat and talk and whatever. And, you know, pretty much I can tell you almost everything. So
I feel the same way.
yeah. And Mary, to that effect, I don't know if there's one person that
Yeah,
you can
there-
tell everything to.
no.
No, like even my husband doesn't know everything about me, you know?
Yeah,
I mean, I
there
think
are
it comes close that way, but not everything, you know, I think there's always a piece that we keep. I think the only person for me who knows everything about me is God,
it's God, yeah.
because
I
I can
agree.
trust him, you know, he's not gonna tell anybody. But you know, I think that relationship is really strong. And that social relationships, you have to piecemeal. So maybe you have 2 people or 3 people that you can tell a lot of things to, but you always have that little piece. And I think that's that just respects who you are, you know, that you hold just a little piece back. I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't
I
know if
don't.
that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just like making it up here.
No, I don't tell her quite everything, but you
Right.
know, there are certain subjects we can't even touch on that
Right.
we can agree to disagree, you
Right.
know.
Well, and the whole idea of with politics these days, like I
That's
can be
that-
really good friends with certain people, but let's not go there. Let's not go there with politics, because
That's one of the ones
Yeah.
we can discuss. We're on totally different sides of the fence on that.
yeah,
So,
I
but,
feel, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
no, but I do have a cousin also that I can talk to about just a lot of things.
Mhm,
Like when I had to get that surgery, that thing, whatever it was,
mhm.
bronchoscopy type thing. She's the first person. Well, she was a nurse also.
Oh,
So,
okay.
and she's the first person I called. I was like, oh my God, I had to get a bronchoscopy. They found all this stuff on my, you know, I talked to her and she's, you know, she calms me down.
Mhm.
Though I'm learning to calm myself down because whatever it is, I'm going to find out after they do the bronchoscopy.
Right,
Why am I going to worry about it for doing it? I mean, I do an initial worry
right,
and I kind of put it to the back of my mind where I'm sure it's still there, you know,
right.
but I don't focus on it.
That's good. That's very healthy.
Yeah, I'm also getting my 2 cataracts done soon.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that I'm petrified about. Just, it's my eye. These people go to my
Right.
eye.
Yeah. My
But-
everybody I know who has had cataract surgery comes out better on the other side. Like my dad doesn't, he could give up his contacts. Dick could give up his glasses. My
And
mom,
my brother,
I don't know, my mom's
father-
eyes were so far back that it didn't
Yeah.
help her with vision, but you know, everybody came through fine. So
Mm.
that's a
I've
good,
gotten those stories and I believe them. I said, but it's just the fact that it's an eye.
yeah,
You know, you're not going to cut my finger and, you know, replace a bone. You're
Right.
cutting my eye open. and-
right. Right.
But then I said to the lady today, you know, when you have a bra, padded bra, I said, you know, they have this tiny little slit, you can pull it out. And she explained to me that's exactly how they do the cataract.
Wow.
A tiny little slit and they kind of push it in there and fix it. But I said, okay, that's not so bad, you know, and you'll be out or I'll be sedated. She said, don't worry. That's just my thing. I'm like, if I see this huge needle coming toward my eye,
I know. I don't want to know anything about that. I just don't.
it's going to be interesting. But they give you a car. They'll come and pick you up and take you home
That's good.
for free. So I
Yeah.
said, okay, I'll take that. Then I don't have to worry. Wouldn't, you know, depend on my kid. So,
Going back to social rest, one of the things, like when I was reading it, I was thinking about myself and thinking, I fought so long to be part of the group. I feel like my whole life, I felt like an outsider trying to get into the in group. I was not one of the popular kids in school. And even like in teaching, I always just wanted to be a part of the group, I wanted to be invited to things. I didn't want to go, but I wanted to be invited, right? That's how, like, don't you feel like that sometimes? You're like, oh, I have to go to this thing now. That means I have to leave my house, which I love being in my house, but yeah, I wanted to be a part of the group. And I realized that things changed when I physically moved away and I had to start my own group. Yeah, I didn't have anybody here in Florida. And I actually went knocking door to door to meet the neighbors, just so I could start to have a sense of, I don't know, being a part of something. And I feel like now I do have a group of people and they are like-minded. They are more similar to my age than the kids I was working with at school. And that I don't feel like an outsider anymore. I feel like I'm right here in the middle. I don't feel like I'm a leader, but I feel like I'm part of a like-minded group of people who are working on themselves, right? And want to improve themselves and whatever. So it goes to her whole idea of social rest is being your most authentic self and finding people with whom you can be that authentic self. And we do recognize that a lot, we put on a facade for other people very often, right? We put on our different hats. Now I'm playing mom, now I'm playing wife, now I'm playing coworker or activist or whatever it is that you have. You put on these different hats and you're not always showing up as who you really are. My big mantra growing up was, I can't remember who said it, but it was something like, it's better to keep your mouth shut and let people wonder if you're a fool than to open your mouth and remove all doubt.
Oh,
And
no.
so I always just, I don't like conflict. I always just kept my mouth shut. And I just kind of went along with things, had my own ideas and my own opinions, but I didn't always share them with people because I didn't want that conflict. And then I would have to dig deeper into who I am and why I believe that. And, but we have these moments where we're not authentic to ourselves. I think that's okay. But I don't think it's okay to go through your whole life hiding who you are. And so having that social relationship with a few people that you really can share most of who you are and they know you is social rest. It is the healthy thing for you.
And also that they accept you for who you are, regardless if, the agree to disagree type of thing, and still not affect your relationship with each other.
I think that's part of it is I think if you feel like if I show somebody who I really am, they're going to reject me. And so that's why we don't. But I think for me, as I've gotten older, I'm like, they don't like me. They can move on. I can move on. This is who I am. And I love me. And so I'm going to keep being me, flaws and all. And I know I have flaws, and I know I'm not the best person to be around sometimes, or, my thoughts may not align with somebody else's thoughts, but for good or bad, this is who I am. And if you don't love yourself, you're lost. You're not really living, I don't think. You've got to love yourself and put yourself first, and then only then can you help other people. So you're going back to your analogy, Mary, of the oxygen mask, you do that because you love yourself, because you can't be of any use to anybody else if you're not in good shape. So Uh, um, I'm gonna skip through a lot of this because we have talked a lot about these first two, and the next two are pretty important as well. So I guess to just putting yourself out there. And if you don't feel like you have that person, then you just haven't met the right person. And so get out there and meet lots of different people, and you will start to connect with somebody if you let yourself, right? You will. And that whole going around door to door, I've got two really good friends because I did that. You know, two people who are in, you know, my inner circle. That's it. All right, this one's done. Let's go to this one. All right. Sensory rest. The one graphic I created was the one where we have all of these things in our lives that are bombarding our senses, our eyes, our ears, our nose, our tastes, what we feel, all of those things. And her quote was, "We have adopted to our noisy, artificially lit world with a keen ability to ignore what we don't want to deal with," which I thought was kind of interesting. It's like, we have all this stuff, but you can tune it out, right? My husband has the TV on every single day, and he's slightly hard of hearing, so he has it up a little bit higher. And then there's a couple of those commercials that come on that are like 20 decibels more, and you just like, meh. It's hard to ignore those, but I can tune out the TV after a while. Sensory things, lights. I love lights, but it depends on my mood. So one of the things I used to love to do was to go driving at night and seeing people's lights on in their houses. That was like a comfort thing for me. It's like, look, there's a family in there, and they're doing things, you know. I just thought that was really comfort thing. I like lights in my house, so I have lots of lights on, but not full blast. And my light system, I have these special light bulbs that I can tell Alexa to turn them on or turn them off at night. And the hub that they work on was down the other day, so I couldn't turn on any of my lights. So I had to put the overhead lights on, which is a very different thing, because now it's like really bright, and it's not a restful situation. So our senses are bombarded all day long with different things, and we can shut them out to a certain extent, but we do get this sensory overload. And so it's important that we pay attention to this. One of her statistics was that diabetes, hypertension, obesity stats are climbing yearly because our taste buds are craving more salt, more sugar, more cream, in order to feel satisfied. And it's probably because we've all that processed food, you know, the other sodium and everything, that our taste buds get accustomed to salt. And so we want more salt after that. So I think the same thing happens with everything in life, is like we want that ability to just chill and calm, but all of these things of bombarding our senses are getting in the way. Sensory rest involves denying one or more of your senses the experience of the physical world for short periods. So if you feel like you're being bombarded by light or visual things like the TV or the computer or whatever, if sensory rest is just shutting your eyes and experiencing darkness. Or if sound is a thing, go someplace and, you know, put those noise canceling earphones on without sound, and just experience a quiet from that. If your nose is under assault, how many times have you gone and you've met somebody with way too much cologne on that you just like, you know, go out and get some fresh air. What is that, Kirkland's? It's hard to be in Kirkland's for me anymore because they pump in artificial smells. The minute you walk in the door, you're like assaulted with that. So to rest your nose, they say just fresh air, get out and get some fresh air.
It's hard to walk down the aisle in the supermarket where they have cleaning products too.
I generally don't.
I don't either because I don't need anything down that aisle, and then when you go to like a Home Depot or something like that, to go down the aisle where they have like the weed killer or plant food or whatever, that just, it overwhelms me and I start getting a reaction to it.
That was a good thing about masks. It kind of dulled that a little bit. So we have to recognize that our excessive exposure to nonstop sensory information has left us exhausted. And we accept the health benefits of avoiding junk food, but we rarely consider the effects of junky, cluttered sensory impressions we receive from our choice of entertainment or our living environment. So talking about my husband with the TV, sometimes what he'll do is it puts the TV on the minute he gets up in the morning, and he'll drink his coffee and he'll watch the news. But then he'll go off into the bathroom for 20-30 minutes and the TV's still on. And then even then he'll come out, he'll make his breakfast, TV's still on. He'll go into his office and he'll get on his computer, TV's still on. And it's like, enough already. I can't take it, especially if nobody's watching it. I don't want that extra noise. It really gets to me. So it's like, I look forward to when he goes to play golf. I'm like, turn the TV off and I'm silent for a long, long time. And then only maybe late in the afternoon that I'll want some kind of noise. Like I'll put the music on. I'll ask Alexa to play some 80s music or something. But I'm going to read this here. When our senses continue receiving information without a break, the nervous system becomes too congested to process the information appropriately. And the result is a decline in happiness. It's stifled creativity, mental restlessness, and blunted performance. We could have an adverse reaction to loud sounds, blurry vision, eye pressure, fatigue, or strain. Maybe you don't like being touched by other people. That might be a sensory overload. You even maybe become desensitized to scents. So other people might smell something and you're like, I don't smell that, because your nose is like breaking down there and saying, no, I've had too much. I don't want any more. And maybe you're not able to enjoy a one-time event like a concert or fireworks because of that sensory overload. And that just means that you just need a break. So if you're thinking about going to a concert, give yourself some break first, I suppose. 58% of adults experience eye strain with computers, and that's likely to grow as we spend more and more time with our computers, our phones, all of those things. So for sensory rest, I'm doing this one really fast. Unplug, disconnect completely from technology, because that's the one that is probably most prevalent in our life. Turn off the TV, turn off the computer, turn off the phone, and just have periods of rest where you're just totally not connected to anything. It also says that if you feel like that this is a problem, you can test your sensory responses. So how do you respond to certain things, certain elements of your senses, like different sounds, like music, different kinds of music, fresh air versus aromatherapy or other things? What kind of fabrics make you feel better? So I know my daughter is very sensitive to fabrics. When she was, I want to say she was probably 6 or 7 years old, This is an old Thanksgiving story. We were hosting Thanksgiving dinner and we told her to go get dressed and we're ready to eat and she still hasn't come downstairs. And it's because nothing felt good. It doesn't feel good. And she went through like so many different outfits and she just couldn't, that sensory feeling of the clothes on her body wasn't feeling good. And my husband lost his temper that day. And he actually hit the wall, which he never does that, but he was so frustrated. And she was like, ugh. He goes, I don't care. Put your pajamas back on and come downstairs. So like, it's a real thing. And how many of us cut the tags out? All the time. I can't stand that feeling of a tag there. So I get rid of it right off the bat. So identify your target, your sensory stressors, and then look for an alternative. So with noise, you're going to look for silence, right? Vision, darkness, aromas, fresh air, taste. If you feel like your taste buds are overwhelming, go with water. Or I guess if they're burning, milk, right? If you've had too much spice. And then with touch, fabrics, lotions, a soothing bath, those things might be helpful. Okay, creative rest. This is the last one. And she said it's the rest one finds when immersed in creative beauty. And at first I was like, well, what is this creative rest? Does that mean I stop doing my crafts in the garage? And she explained how one of her first examples was like being on the side of a mountain and looking at the view and how that makes you feel and how that can just taking in creation, and how gorgeous the world is, how gorgeous nature is. And she said her friend would come and could sit there and paint the whole thing. And so, yes, she was looking at this vision and creating something, but you don't have to actually be creative or be artsy to experience creative rest. And it took me a little bit to get into this. So in fact, I even made a note that there was a lot of explanation on the first 2 pages without her saying anything about it. And then she said, creative rest uses all God has created around us to create something inside of us. What is created is as unique as each individual. So she said, creativity may bloom, but it's not the objective of creative rest. It's especially needed if you do a lot of creative thinking during the day. You need to kind of take a break from that. Allowing white space in your life and giving room for creativity to show up. I liked that aspect of it. So this was a confusing chapter for me, about what creative rest was. But one aspect of it was giving your brain some time off to not have to think creatively and just experience, just be. So giving yourself some white space where you're not focusing on anything but a blank canvas. And so that blank canvas, we think about painting, but it's not just about painting. It's about whatever creative ideas come to you. You need that white space in order to do that. And so that's sort of that rest. And she said nature is a very good outlet for creative rest, just getting outside and experiencing nature, especially the beauty of nature. So if the beach is your place, or a lake, or the woods, a mountain, whatever it is, being out in nature can inspire that creativity and also give you that creative rest. She said, experience small miracles of creation. So just appreciating the beauty around us. Stop and smell the roses. Life is beautiful. I think that's part of it. That was one of my thoughts as I was going through that. And this is going to go back. We go through the same topics over and over again. You might need creative rest if you don't consider your needs a priority. If you talk yourself out of self-care as if you don't deserve it. You feel you're being selfish when you consider doing something for yourself. You do self-destructive things or make choices that sabotage your happiness. You rarely feel your work is of value or that others appreciate your contributions. And you find it difficult to enjoy things in nature or in their natural state. Those are all signs that maybe you need some creative rest. She talked about vitamin D deficiency is even more common than vitamin B12. So getting out in the sun, and doctors say that, at least this is what she says, 10 to 15 minutes of unprotected sun a day is really very helpful for you, and it's going to build up your vitamin D. Without that vitamin D, I think, we can get into a depressed state. So sunshine is good for a lot of different reasons. For creative rest, I think this all goes, again, all of it's self-care, but this is specifically self-care for you. One of the applications was to build a sabbatical for yourself, whatever it is, and for however long. It can be 15, 20 minutes. It can be an hour. It can be a day, a weekend. It can be a week, but schedule time for yourself where it's just going to be about you, and loosely plan how it's going to be spent. And I say loosely, and she says loosely, because you know how it is. If you make yourself a schedule and then you get all about that schedule, then you're not really experiencing relaxation, because you're just pushing yourself to be part of the schedule. And I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And then you're going to end up being exhausted anyway. Make sure you plan for outdoor activities. Get out in nature. It is healing. And in that regard, allow time to be wooed by creation. So give yourself time to be out there and experiencing the splendor of the world. I know one of my favorite things to do, and I don't do it often enough, is to just go sit on my patio early in the morning before the pool turns on, before the people start working. And I listen to the birds, and I just thank God for the beautiful day, for the sun and the weather, and just the sights and sounds of the morning. And I always, I don't know, it just puts me in a good mood just to start that way. Let's see. If you're working, I know none of us are employed right now, but we have our work. She says to practice a flow and break rhythm. So give yourself 120 minutes, 90 minutes to 2 hours of work time, and schedule yourself a break in between, 20 minutes. Okay. Might be difficult to do if you are actually working, but you have to schedule in those breaks where you can. And set a timer for yourself to remind yourself to take a break, to walk away. I have a hard time doing that. I have my watch here that keeps track of how often I stand up in an hour. And if I'm, being active for at least a minute every hour, and it goes off and it says, hey, 10 minutes left of this hour, you haven't moved yet. And I'm really good at ignoring it. Because you put your blinders on, you get working on something, you're like, I got to keep doing this. Oh man, yeah. You get into it, but you need to get up and get away, and you need to step away and give your brain a rest from that sort of thing. Another suggestion was to work with your body clock. Your circadian rhythms are really important. For sleep, we know, but she also suggests that your high brain function occurs before noon. I'm really in trouble for that. And your lesser activities should be from 1 to 3 in the afternoon. I suppose everybody's different. I mean, I don't even eat before noon usually. And I have a hard time like kind of get going in the morning. So my best times for working are usually like 2 to 5. And then I have to stop to make dinner. But I think it's all about getting to know yourself. Okay, I've been talking for a long time. Anybody got anything to interject about all of these different kinds of rest? Cricket, cricket, cricket.
I
Well,
think
they're all
all of
very
them-
interesting. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. I was
I
just
was-
going to say, we have to put ourselves first
Yeah,
on a number of
Yeah.
occasions
right.
to help with this. Then we could work through what we're deficient in.
I was gonna say they're all very interesting, because they all bottle down to take care of you.
Right. We are very complicated beings as human beings. There's so many different sides of us. And I think, I don't know if it's a product of age. I never thought about these things when I was younger. I never thought about these things when I was working. It was all about get up, go to work, make meals, take care of the family, and keep, rinse and repeat, right? And so I feel blessed to have this time where I'm still, I think, young and vital in a way, but I have more time to explore these things and to explore all the different facets of who I am and what I can offer the world. And in that way, sometimes I feel like my life is just beginning, that I'm just starting over and here to work to my potential, fulfill my own destiny, because I have that time. And I never thought about things before. So God bless those who really have thought about this stuff at an earlier age, because they're probably miles beyond where I am right now. But we are very complicated beings, and there's a lot of different things, lots of different aspects to who we are and how our mind, body, and soul all work together. And yeah, you just have to give yourself time to figure out who you are and understand all of the complexities of life. That's not an easy task, is it?
It's gonna take time.
Yeah. So, which probably has instigated my exercise routine. It's like, wait a minute, I'll never figure this out if I don't take care of myself and extend my life a little bit longer. I need more time, so I better get in shape, right? Oh, well. Well, I hope I haven't bored people too much today. I'm finding this book fascinating, and we are done with the 7 different areas of rest. And now we're going to kind of put it all together and start looking at different ways to improve that. And we're going to learn about some gifts that we can achieve when we put rest into practice. So next week, we are not here. Kathy will be down here. I don't know if we'll see each other because you sound like you have a busy schedule with your family and visiting Disney next Saturday. How exciting. But I hope you all have a blessed, happy Thanksgiving, and that you can just experience joy with the people that you're with, the food that you eat. And I pray that your life finds sacred rest.
Thank you.
Happy
Thank you,
Thanksgiving.
Dr.
Thank you.
Mary.
Happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you back in 2 weeks, and we have a longer period we have 2 weeks to read, but we have more to read. So chapters 11 through 16, which will come back on, I think it's December 4th. It'll be December. Wow. All right. Have a great week. Love you both.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thanks, Kath.